And we've just had a couple of other folks join. And so once again, I'm Susie Johnson from Idaho NASA EPSCoR, and we're going to talk about the rapid response research solicitation. All right. Here we go. All right. Can everybody see the slides? Excellent. I appreciate the head nods. All right. So for those of you who are not familiar with NASA EPSCoR and their rapid research response, just to take a step back, NASA EPSCoR is a program in NASA that's similar to other EPSCoR programs, but the focus is on building the research infrastructure of the particular state. So in this case, Idaho. And so they do that by giving seed funding, essentially, where you can, get more expertise so that you can be nationally competitive. And the R3 is a relatively new vehicle. It's been around, I would say, and Matt, correct me if I'm wrong, 4 to 5 years now. And the whole point is for that what NASA EPSCoR does is it solicits sort of finite tasks and ideas from throughout different offices at NASA, and they put it into this solicitation so that they're meant to be, just as the name implies, like something up to $100,000, roughly a year, and they're asking for very specific things. So and so that is really an important thing, that when you go to read through that, to bear that in mind, that they are looking for very specific things, and you need to try to be as close to meeting the solicitation as possible. So sorry, there's one more. Okay, so the process by which we do this is that we collect notices of intent from people that are intending that would like to put in a proposal. They've looked through the R3 solicitation and they believe that they can meet one of the research tasks. So as a state, we are allowed to submit 6 proposals. So if we receive 10 NOIs, our team, and if we also need to call in some outside researchers, we'll then have to down select from the NOIs to say, okay, here are the 6 that will go forward. So it's important. The NOI is relatively brief, but it's important that in those NOIs you speak to how well your proposed research will be a fit to the task that is being requested. So that mandatory notice of intent is due this Friday. So by, midnight on Friday or whatnot. We do not believe that you need to involve your OSPs, just to reassure folks, because this is just an NOI, and you will obviously, if you get down selected to develop a proposal, then you can get your OSP or whatnot involved. Just to give an overview, and we'll get a little bit more into those research topics, or what kind of information you need to provide in later slides. But just to give you a heads up that all of the proposals, the 6 proposals that Idaho can submit, have to be submitted by our team with Matt Bernards as the PI. And whoever, like if you were writing a proposal, you would be the science investigator. So it's just the way the EPSCoR program works. They're trying to work on not having that be the way, but for right now, Matt is the PI. But that means that if we are trying to push 6 proposals through our Office of Sponsored Programs on your behalf, if they are due to NASA by February 26th, that we have to have 100% complete, no last minute edits, no nothing, by February 12th, just so people understand that, because inevitably our OSP will have questions and they'll be back and forth. And if we're working 6 proposals, we need at least those 2 weeks to be able to to do that. If you are selected to go forward, we will give you, you know, additional milestones to say, okay, let's get your budget by this day. Let's get this by this day. Luckily, these proposals are not so heavy of a lift that it's impossible. The narrative is limited to 2 to 3 pages. So it's really not huge. And so, and we will work with you along the way. You're not just sort of figuring out, so we're here to help. So that the maximum funding per if each of the 6 proposals is $100,000. However, we have to reserve a little bit at the higher level or whatnot for our office to help process invoices and help you with reporting and things like that. So we will give you, if you are selected, a budget template and everything else like that, so that you can, you're not operating completely in the dark. The nice thing is there's no cost share at all required. And usually this period of performance is a year. We've had, in the ones that we've done, there have been very few that actually finish in a year. They usually get a no cost extension and it goes just a little bit over a year or whatnot, and that is okay. But if you can get it done in 6 months, fantastic. That's great. We'd probably still encourage you to ask for the year just in case. All right. And so the main thing that you all need to do now, if you are interested in submitting a proposal or an NOI, I should say, is to go ahead and look at Appendix 3 of NASA's solicitation. You can get to that if you haven't already visited our website at idaho-nasa-EPSCoR.org, and you'll hit /submit, and there will be a link to the solicitation, or we'll also post these slides that you can click here to NASA's Inspires, or if you're familiar with Inspires, you can go ahead and look it up there as well. So all of the research focus areas are in Appendix 3. And they range from vertical takeoff and landing to astrophysics, citizen science projects, to new materials, to just planetary science, astronaut outfits, or all sorts of things like really it seems like every year there are more and more tasks, more and more offices that are getting involved. So the really nice thing, so this down here is an example of what you'll see, right? And so the research focus area, and then the research identifier. These are really important for your NOI. You'll need to include those so that we can read through your NOI and say, oh, that does seem like a fit, or no, that's really kind of trying to put a round peg into a square hole sort of thing. But the nice thing, one of the really great things about the R3 is they give you the contacts for that research area. And they encourage you to reach out to those folks and ask them questions and say, okay, so this is what I'm thinking. Does this meet, what you're thinking about, or do I have it wrong? That kind of thing. So, so we really suggest that you take advantage of all this great information that they're giving you. And just know that each of the task areas is a little bit different. Obviously, they have different POCs, and you can also tell that in the difference of the way that the narratives are done. Because, for example, like in this first one, there's not a whole bunch of narrative describing that. But in other tasks, there'll be a couple paragraphs trying to explain the context and everything else. So it's going to vary from research area to research area. All right. Sorry if you hear my dog barking. Of course, somebody delivered a package just right while I'm doing this. It's just the law of Zoom. Okay. So when you want to submit your NOI, it's not through email, it's all through our website. You just, once again, you go to Idaho EPSCoR/submit. There is a little link under the R3s about submit NOI, and you just go ahead and fill that out. You don't have to submit a budget at this time and I can actually see if I can just pull this up. So you will go here, notice of intent submission. You fill out your name, even though you'll be the science side, we're just asking for PI name. So that would be you, rapid research response, your institution, tell us which focus area and research identifier, like we were saying before. Then you have a small abstract. We say to limit it to 250 words, but that is not a hard and fast limit. If you need longer than that to explain how well your you have a match to this topic, that's fine. It's not going to cut you off, is all we're saying. We're just trying to encourage that you don't make this 10 pages in this one field. And then any other comments. And then you can also click this button here that send me a copy of my responses. So then you have proof that you have submitted. If that makes, it'll email you that, because if you do that, it'll ask for your email address and you just hit submit. And then that'll come to us. All right. Okay. So let me get back here. All right. And actually, it'll be very similar. Again, if you are selected, it is our goal to notify folks that they have been selected by December 10th. And so then at that point, we will give you further instructions on dates, budget templates, anything else like that. And then you'll do the same sort of thing to submit your proposal. You'll fill out a form online from our website, and you'll just upload your proposal again to that system. Okay. So with that is the end of this fabulously long presentation. So now I'd like to open it up for questions. We've got some things in the chat. Sorry. So Matt was saying, yeah, that only one RFA per NOI. Yeah. So that is correct. So thank you for answering that in the chat, Matt. Okay. So then I'm going to stop my screen sharing. Okay. So at this point, while we're still recording, if anyone has like a general question about the solicitation, please feel free to either open your microphone or put it in the chat, and we can answer that.
I would just throw one thing in, Susie, while people are coming up with their questions. In years past, if we have received more than 6 NOIs and it's not obviously clear who is the best fit for the appendix materials, we have gone ahead and requested the 3-page proposal from more than 6 and done our evaluation off of the full proposal. So if it's not very obvious from just the brief NOIs who the best fits are, we have asked people to do a full proposal, and we've let them know that it's still an open competition, because we really do want the 6 best proposals and the best fits with the research tasks on behalf of the state.
Yes, thank you, Matt. I sure appreciate that. All right. Well, I don't see any general questions. So with that, oh, sorry, go ahead, Kamal. Oh, we can't hear you. Sorry, now you're freezing. Okay. Kamal, we can't hear you. Maybe put it into the chat, and right now we'll go next to Zachariah.
Hi, Susie.
Hi.
Yeah, thanks for the presentation. Really very informative. It helped a lot. I did have a question. When the time comes, of course, there'll need to be a budget constructed, budget justification, all that good stuff. Now, the 5K that INE requests, that will presumably be part of the overall budget, and you'll give instructions as to how that should be filled in. Okay, perfect. Just wanted to make sure.
Yeah. We will give you a budget template that already has that part filled in.
Perfect. Thank you.
No problem. Okay, Karthik. Oh, we can't hear you. Sorry.
I think now you can hear me. Sorry.
Yes.
I just saw that one last slide in your presentation that said foreign national participation. So I just wanted to ask if that is something you can elaborate on, and what should I know about it?
Absolutely. Yeah. And so that's one of our backup slides in case it comes up. Essentially, foreign national participation is generally allowed as long as that foreign national is employed by an accredited U.S. institution of higher education. So in that case, you know, I think that will cover most folks. There can be occasional hesitation or the extra legwork if you happen to be from one of NASA's one of the designated countries list, and NASA maintains a list of those countries where they're, especially if they have ties to research institutions in those countries, and it can get a little dicey from there. But in general, that is it is allowed.
Okay, that makes sense. Thank you.
And there's also a little bit about it in the solicitation, and that was just the little piece that I was pulling out from the solicitation. So
Okay.
Okay. Other questions? Come on, were you able to get your?
Yep.
Okay, go ahead.
He put his question in the chat, Susie, and I answered it.
Oh, thank you very much. I appreciate that. Yes, there's no NASA collaborator needed because essentially the NASA folks are asking for this. So this actually really lays the foundation for future collaborations, hopefully. If you have something that they may be interested in, it's a really good way to get those inroads. Zachariah, you have another question?
Yeah, so on the same topic, so I have a few colleagues at NASA Goddard in their astrophysics division, and they haven't put in to underneath the if you go to NASA Goddard in the section at the bottom, I don't think they've added anything specifically to associate themselves with this.
Mm-hmm.
But could I still list them? What would a correct strategy be?
Well, I think that, because Matt, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe that I think there might be a spot where they can add like a letter of support or a letter of commitment if they wanted to.
They can certainly provide a letter of support for the project, but none of the funding can go to a NASA civil servant as part of this project. And it's really, our experience has been that the science investigator really has to have a good alignment with the very specific tasks in the appendix. This isn't a proposal opportunity to come up with new, great, groundbreaking science. It is really about fitting a NASA need. And so even along the lines of Kamal's question, is a NASA collaborator needed? Reaching out to the listed point of contact is probably more valuable on these than necessarily having people at NASA who are generally interested if they are not the point of contact already.
Yeah, and of course, if they are going to help you, you just never know. You might talk to your contacts whether or not they're aware that this has been put out there, because they might say, oh yeah, I know that person, or I know, and they might have some other insight for you. The other thing, future thinking forward, is if you talk to your contacts and they happen to have money. One of the really great things about this program is that what a lot of these programs are doing, like, oh, I've got like this $100,000 laying around. It's too small for me to put out a big contract or this or that. So this is where they say, hey, EPSCoR, we'll give it to you to put in here. So that if the people are interested in maybe having a future task, like in next year's solicitation, they can reach out to the EPSCoR folks. If they don't know how to do it, we can certainly put them in contact so they could see about getting a task added. So while that might not help you this year, it might help you next year. Okay. Other questions? Okay, and I see Matt answered another great question in the chat. Thank you, Matt. All right. Well, with that, I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording.